Hi, Leo Rising Sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 16th of February until the 22nd of February. So, we don't have the busiest week ever, but of course, we've got a couple of very exciting placements. And of course, still the most active part of your chart is the 7th, 8th, and the 9th house. So, of course, it's going to be remaining active for a little while. So, you might want to be working on that as much as possible. But actually, let's start with some of these breakdowns so that we can have a great understanding of that. So, the very first stop is Mercury in Pisces, trine Jupiter in Cancer. So, this is going to be triggering your 8th and 12th house. And maybe this is you finding it's kind of like a financial miracle. So I can imagine that you find a solution to a debt, to a tax issue, for example, and somehow you feel relieved. Or maybe you go to therapy and you have got a session and some of these deep-seated fears finally just dissolves because you are able to potentially talk it out. Or maybe you receive a gift from your partners, or it could be from an anonymous source as well, or you receive a gift unexpectedly. Or I can imagine that you are ready to sit down and then talk to someone about a secret of yours, about sharing your dream or vulnerability, something that you haven't spoken about just yet. Or maybe you also might realize that you have got weaknesses, but actually some of these weaknesses are your true strength as well. Um, Now, the very next stop is Venus in Pisces, making a conjunction to Pallas Athene. And after, we have got a conjunction to North Node as well. And then Pallas Athene makes a conjunction to North Node also. So this is all happening in your eighth house. So this is about you coming up with something clever, tapping into a creative side of yours. And then you go through this consolidation and then you realize that you might be able to make some money out of it. Or maybe you choose a strategic way to consolidate or eliminate certain type of debt, and you feel like that a huge weight got lifted off of your shoulders. Or maybe you are ready to finalize a legal or financial agreement. And then you potentially kind of try to go through the details there, or maybe you start seeing certain type of patterns in your closest relationship and something that might be blocking your trust, and then you are ready to kind of like forgive to someone. So you have got this intimacy breakthrough happening. Or I can also imagine that something that you have been overlooking for years, and then somehow it comes to surface. You're gonna start kind of like starting a healing process there. And you might even use your intuition to read others, or you might want to be tapping into your natal chart, for example, where your financial talents are, or where to move your money kind of safely, and so forth. Now we have got that Venus who is in a beautiful trine to Jupiter as well. This is happening on the 22nd of February. And again, that could be, for example, you somehow growing your money. So this could talk to us about you receiving a tax refund. You finally get an insurance payout, or you are ready to set yourself free from certain type of financial burdens, or the partner who receives a pay rise, or the partner kind of like winning in a financial situation. And of course, you benefit from that too. Or I can imagine that you have got a meeting, for example, like you get together with a healer or a therapist, and then they help you uncover something within you, which starts the healing journey, and then you treasure that moment. Or I can even imagine a bit more of a soul merging moment with a partner of yours, and um, we are able to talk about something deep, and then it kind of reestablishes that sense of trust within you, the shared security between the two of you. Or you might even find money somewhere hidden. Maybe you realize that, oh, I've got money in my old account, or I've hidden money somewhere, something that you have completely forgotten about, and then all of a sudden it kind of comes back to you. Now, the very next aspect that we should talk about is Sun in square to Uranus. So, Sun is in your seventh house, and Uranus is in your 10th house. So, this is triggering your public relations and relationship department and your career. I can imagine that your romantic or business partner, maybe they decided they want to change career. And there is a little bit of a uncertainty around it. Or I can imagine that there is this unspoken tension, and then maybe it kind of pops out in the public. Something that might be forcing you to defend your reputation. Or maybe you are in a contractual agreement which you feel like it's a trap and I want to break out of it. Or maybe it's a client of yours who all of a sudden wants to pull out of a contractual agreement just before you guys are ready to kind of sign the document. Or I can imagine that you get a sudden proposal. Maybe it's a contractual proposal. Maybe this is a proposal from a potential marriage partner. But it's about you changing you making a radical shift in your relationship status. So breaking up, getting married, wanting to get the freedom back. Or maybe a boss of yours is gonna kind of highlight a certain type of intellectual rigidity within you. I can even imagine an unexpected viral moment if you are more of a social media trendsetter. So then you might want to be working on that. The very next aspect is asteroid Urania enters Aries on the 18th, and of course, it's straight away making a conjunction to Saturn and Neptune. Now I'm going to be making a separate video about Saturn Neptune, so I'm not going to be that detailed here. But this is your ninth house. I can imagine that you are ready to enroll maybe in an astrology course. Hopefully, this is going to be my membership program or certain type of educational programs which might require more of a mental discipline. But Urania is astrology and astronomical type of stuff, divination, and so forth. Or I can imagine that you are ready to book a trip, not necessarily only for fun, but something spiritual initiation might be involved there. Or maybe you are coming across a belief system, more of a spiritual belief system that is logical, structured. It might remind you of mathematics somehow, and maybe that's the reason why you kind of enjoy that. So imagine that you start working with the degree theories, for example. Or maybe you are ready to finalize a book or a course. Somehow you are trying to gap here the unseen and the proven. But we are going to be talking about this more in detail, of course, because actually the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening with Urania. So we're going to have to be able to talk about that. And of course, we've got the Sun's ingression into your eighth house this week as well. Of course, this happens every single year, but every single the sun is the representation of you, of course. But you might want to remember that every single time we have got different planetary energies. But the sun's job is to highlight something. So it's highlighting your finances, it's highlighting your emotional baggages. This is telling you that, yes, potentially we're going to have to be a little bit more strategic when it comes to our finances and how we want to make money, or the partner has to be strategic about it. Maybe you are ready to visit, for example, a financial institution. Or again, that deepening the intimacy with the partner, it's going to get highlighted. And if you guys have been going through a crisis situation, then maybe this is the month when you're going to have to be able to deal with that. Or, Pisces is about forgiveness. So maybe you are required to forgive your past mistakes. You should start that healing process. You should meditate. You should go for a therapy session if you think it's necessary. Or I can imagine that maybe your partner is about to receive certain type of like financial support. Maybe it's a pay rise, maybe it's a bonus check, and so forth. It can feel like a bit of a blessing, actually. Because the sun rules you, it also feels like that you might be uncovering something about yourself, about your talents, about your pride and ego, which you realize that I have to be able to work with. Mercury in Pisces is in sextile to Juno in Capricorn, so that is again triggering your eighth and sixth house. So very heavy eighth house, right? But this is an agreement made, for example, with a co-worker, a client, an assistant of yours. Or this is about sitting down with a partner to organize tax documents or talking about the debts, but with absolute transparency. Or I can imagine that you are ready to commit to a health routine, a therapy regimes. I can even imagine that you are ready to kind of sign up with a personal trainer or certain type of like subscription based, gym stuff. Or maybe a colleague offers to cover for you to be able to handle a very private issue. Maybe it's a family matter, for example. So don't worry, don't come in at the weekend. I'm gonna cover for you. Um, we have got a Mars and Ceres sextile happening now. That's your seventh and ninth house trigger. And I can imagine that it's about supporting your partner's career or educational goals, improvements, basically. Or I can imagine that you are ready to plan this trip, for example, or certain type of activity, more of a, more of a like an exciting activity with a partner. And that might be actually strengthening the bond between the two of you. Or I can imagine that this can create certain type of arguments as well, but arguments are sometimes productive, right? And then that results in something better, and so forth, because obviously we eventually might come to a conclusion. Or maybe your partner receives a job offer, for example, in a different country, in a different state or town, and we're going to have to be able to kind of think that through. Because Mars is the planet of relocation, and then now the ninth house is triggered as well. So therefore, this could represent certain type of relocation opportunities as well. So remember, we are going to be having the Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the 20th of February, but I'll be back with a different video for that. So good luck, Leo, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.